Welcome back to the Talk Like No One's Listening podcast, episode 28. The final episode of 2020. I think only the second one I've actually done all 2020. But I think you will understand things got a little hectic. And I got a bit distracted with things. So it was a bit hard to get back in here and keep recording, even though I wanted to. I wanted to come back and speak my mind on lots of things that were happening out in the world and in my own life. But every time I felt like I wanted to say something, I felt like some more crazy stuff would happen, and I just couldn't make sense of it all. I'm not one for getting into the small details of things and wanting to talk about people and events and things like that. To me, I'm more interested in the bigger picture and finding the understanding of that. But it was just so hard. I really went through many, many ups and downs in my mind of what I thought was going on. And then I realized there's no point in really trying to understand it all, because you just can't. It won't let you. And I think that's a good lesson to learn. That's the lesson I learned throughout this year, is that no matter what's happening out there with all the craziness, unless it's directly affecting you, you kind of got to leave it alone, because there's just too much out there, and it will take up so much of your time and energy and focus away from the things that are directly affecting you in your life. Those are the things that require your energy and your attention. So where do I begin? I think I'll just rewind a bit back, maybe about 9 months ago, or just the beginning, fuck it. So from January until August, September, I think I had probably the busiest work year I've had. We started working on an album called CTV3, and it was just nonstop. It was nonstop that entire time. It was worked on and recorded in many different locations, different countries, different cities, different studios. It was worked on remotely from me sitting at home in front of my laptop. Many hours of that. Then there was also many hours of being in person at studios. Lots of travel, lots of ideas, lots of work, lots of songs. And I just had to dive into it fully. That's just what I do, obviously, as my job as an engineer at the time. And that's about how I felt at times. But I would just keep my head down and just focus on what I gotta do, what's in front of me, and just get it done. And lo and behold, the album got done. And I don't really have much to say about that, honestly. But I did go through quite a bit of personal change in the course of the year. I'm sure just like everybody else, probably in the world, you're forced with a situation that is making you just have to sit and think a lot. And if that's not your thing, it could be it could be pretty, what can I say? I mean, you're just in jail. You're in the jail of your own home. But for me, luckily, fortunately, I have a family, so I have my loved ones that I get to spend time with, which that was the upside, was that normally when I'm working so much and I'm gone, I'm not spending that much time with them. So this was the year that I spent the most time with my family. So that was great. And it was also the time that I spent just sitting and thinking a lot. Even though I was super busy and occupied a lot, I did do a lot of thinking because I got caught up with the current events. And my brain I kind of just burnt out. I wanted to know what was going on. I was following the stories, I was following the news, following gossip, following theories, trying to figure out if there was more to the story of everything. And of course, there is always more to the story. And there's no end to the story. And that's the thing. So if you keep trying to find and figure out the story, that will never end. And after a few months of being in this headspace of trying to figure out, trying to crack this code, solve this puzzle, to see what I thought was going on in the world, beyond what was just being talked about in the news, because I personally don't consume the news, mainstream media, or anything like that. So it's pretty difficult because you never really I never really felt like I had a solid ground to stand on when it came to gathering information. I might be being kind of vague here, but the point is, it's not the details of the information and the events that will happen this year. I was really spending a lot of time observing how people were responding to the events of this year. And it really was very telling of people and really telling of what people are made of and what they believe in, their worldview, their beliefs in politics, their beliefs in science, or not, of any of that. And it was very interesting to see how people got affected and how people changed. Some people didn't change that much. Some people changed a lot. And some in between. Obviously, people's careers, livelihoods were affected. People were extremely challenged, and some rose to the occasion and they hustled, and people figured out how to survive or even thrive. And it was very hard. I didn't see a lot of people, just like everybody else didn't see a lot of people. But for me, I felt like I needed
to be isolated for the fact of I just felt like I needed to know that my mind and my thoughts were my own because I did feel like I got caught up in the current events and opinions and ideas of other people. And then I realized it wasn't things that I really felt were true to me. So when it comes to all these controversial events of the year, there were so many different extremely opposing opinions for everything. And it just seemed like everybody was at war with themselves. Society was at war with itself on a conscious level. And I didn't want any part of that. I'm not trying to be part of a conscious war. I'm not trying to fight other people's consciousness. I'm not trying to fight to make a point that I'm right and someone else is wrong. I don't care if I'm right or wrong, because I honestly think that's all relative. I just need to make sure that I feel right with myself. And I feel like it's very important to see things for yourself and to think for yourself when situations are just really cloudy. Whoa, sorry. When situations get really cloudy and you're unsure of who to believe, who to listen to. So I just withdrew after a while. I cut down on any type of news. I cut down on a lot of social media. And I just decided it was better for me just to live my life, my actual life, the here and now, what was in front of me. And I realized I got way, way happier after that. The constant just machine gun of information and media and content that's just shooting at everybody's faces
at every moment. I don't think it's healthy. And because it's still such a new thing for everybody, there are really no adults in this situation. Everybody is a child when it comes to this. Very few people have an understanding of
how to properly and responsibly consume media, use social media, use technology, use their phones, use their computers, this and that. And the more this year went on, the more I realized the places that made me feel the best were the simplest places, as far as just going out somewhere in nature, going for a walk, going for a hike, seeing trees and hills and dirt, and hearing the quietness and just hearing the birds chirp and the winds blow. And I realized that's what real life actually is. Everything that we are swiping on our phones to look at and gather information about and build our worldview perspective from, none of that is really real. It's all being created by other people. It's information that's being curated and shared and promoted and pushed, and I just don't need that in my mind. I don't need someone else's thoughts in my mind. I'm fine with just mine. a lot of people I know found themselves in very, very tough situations. Career-wise, financially, health-wise. And I was trying to, keep myself together, keep my family safe. And I don't think there were a lot of resources out there on how to properly take care of yourself. Everything was just a blanket statement of just wear a mask, number one, and then stay at home and don't gather, wash your hands. Everything was a hashtag, but I felt like you can't really explain to the masses how to properly be living for optimum health of your mind, body, and spirit through simple hashtags. And because I didn't see that message coming from anywhere, even though it was a message that I felt like was very common sense as far as taking care of your health in a preventative way, being proactive, so that regardless of what's happening around you, you are maintaining your positive state of being. So I wasn't waiting for that message to come. I started thinking about it on my own, and I just tried to live it. And I just started thinking about, what do I need to do for myself? What's in my best interest? What's my life that I want to create for myself in this world that seems like that's becoming increasingly harder and harder to do, but not impossible, just a bit more challenging, but not a challenge that can't be overcome. So I decided to make some changes for myself. The biggest one being the career change. I decided after we finished this album, CTV3, that I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to be an audio engineer that gets hired to do work on other people's music. Even though that's what I'd done for the past 12 years, I got to the point where I realized without a doubt that time was up for that, because it was not the situation that was in my best interest. It wasn't providing me with the life that I truly wanted to be living. So I had to step away, step forward, and step forward into my own life and create my own life and create my own future, and only leave it up to me to decide what that will be. For all those years that I was a freelance engineer, you depend on having clients. You depend on somebody wanting to hire you for your job. I mean, for your skills and experience. They pay you, but at the end of the day, whoever's paying you is the boss. So you have to take orders from them. You have to show up and work at the time and place that they want to work. And it may not be very convenient for you, but if that's what you gotta do to make money and pay your bills, then that's what you gotta do. And I just didn't want to live that way anymore. I didn't want to simply live just to pay the bills. More than anything, I had a glimpse of what it's like to live not 100% truly free, but pretty free, much more free than the average person gets to live that's working to make a living. And I feel like living free is really the only way that to live. For everybody that's caught up with trying to pay the bills, spending the majority of their time working and not enjoying their life and enjoying their family and friends, that's a trap that most of us are in. And who made that trap? Well, just other people. When I sit and think about it, when I spend all this time out in nature and I just look, nature is free to do whatever nature wants to do. There's no rules for nature except physics. There's no bills that nature has to pay. There's no debt that nature has. And we are nature. So what are we doing? We're all living in just a prison that we've created. But because it doesn't look like a prison, doesn't feel like a prison always, we don't think of it as being such. But once I had a glimpse of stepping outside of it for a bit, then I could see it for what it was. And how do you get free? Well, the one most obvious way was just to make a lot of money. You buy your freedom. You buy your freedom so that you own your own time and you get to do what you like with your time. Now, a lot of people don't have that much money to do that, to live that way. It's a very select few. It's a luxury.
The luxury to do whatever you want every day. It's a challenge. It's difficult to achieve that, but I realized that's the only goal that I wanted to achieve in the near future. So I had to step away and go my own way and become my own boss. And move into strictly being a music producer. I had been learning
the skill and the craft and the art of producing over all these years by me working with other producers and observing how they work and being a part of the process as an engineer. So I know I have the skills and experience to do this just like all these other people I've worked with. So if other people are doing this and being successful and making the money that they have to live freely, why can't I? I can. And I will. Of course, it takes time, it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication and focus. But that's why I had to stop working for other people. Because it takes that much time and focus and energy, it takes all of it. So instead of me giving my time and energy to help other people build their dreams, I'm gonna save all of it for me, for once. I'm gonna look out for me. One thing I started thinking about recently was people talk about loving yourself in order to love others. And I started thinking about what does that really mean? How does that relate to how we are living and how can it benefit you? And I started thinking about the fact that me being a parent, obviously I love my child and I take care of her and I focus on making sure that she's out of harm's way, that she's healthy, she's safe, she's getting attention, she's being nurtured, she's being raised well, she's being taught things she needs to be learning. And people will do that for their children, but they won't necessarily do that for themselves in the same way. They'll allow themselves to be in harm's way. They'll allow themselves to live in cities that aren't healthy, have jobs that aren't healthy, have relationships that aren't healthy, food that's not healthy, lifestyles that aren't healthy. And why? Is it because they don't love themselves? Truly? Because if they did, the way parents will love and care for their children, it would seem that truly loving yourself is a great defense mechanism for yourself. If you're always being aware of the things around you that are affecting you, that aren't good for you, you'll make the choices to get away from those things and make the choice to move towards all the things that are good for you. The job that's good for you, the home that's good for you, the friends that are good for you, etc., etc. And when all those things around you in your life are good for you, well then, sky's the limit after that, right? If you can maintain that, your quality of life will continue to improve gradually, bit by bit. And when all those things are happening for you and you're just surrounded by positivity and you're living in a positive way and you're receiving positivity and you're giving back positivity, that's contagious. That's something that should spread far and wide. And no matter what's going on in the world,
What kind of turmoil and chaos is happening? If you have that thing within yourself, if you have that radar to look out for things that are not good for you, no matter how crazy it gets out there, your
awareness will be focused towards, okay, which direction is the direction that's gonna be good for me? How do I navigate out of this shitstorm? But if your awareness isn't there, you'll never find it. So, as a place to start with you. We're all just individuals living in these bodies, navigating this world. It starts within us, our experiences and our life starts within us, and it goes out externally into the things that we do out in the world, how we interact. But the home base is you. It's your home. It's your body. That's your foundation for everything else you'll do. So the better that is, the better the things that you go out and do in the world will be. But I can understand it's very difficult to understand that and how to do that, because when we are so caught up with the external world, it's hard to even remember that there is an inside. There's an inside of you. When you remove all the noise and all the external layers of society that are just piled up in your mind, hidden underneath all that stuff is the real you. And the real you is what really matters. The real you is what needs to be out there living. Not the version of you that society has created. So I finally got my own studio where I am recording this episode. It's a small room, but it's a production room I'm renting. That's part of a bigger studio facility, and it's a room just for me to do me. And I've never had this. I've had a small little tiny room where I would work at home, but it wasn't a proper studio, and it wasn't isolated, which is very important for doing stuff music related and audio related. You need isolation for sound, but then also you need isolation for your mind and your creativity. You need to just have a cave where you can go into and be with your own thoughts and your own ideas and develop them and experiment. You need a laboratory. You need to just try things out. And it can be very distracting to try to do this kind of work just at home, especially when you have a family and you have other people nearby. So, going into 2021, I have a new goal, a new direction. And it's exciting. Yes, it's a risk. I left the job that I was doing for a very long time that was paying the bills, and I just decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. And yeah, for most people, that's not a risk worth taking, or at least it's not a risk that people are willing to take it. So of course it's worth taking, but it's another thing to be willing to take the risk. I really was just very turned off by politics this year. I was never into politics, but more than ever, I really got sick of it. The whole thing, it's just a game. It's all made up. It's literally a game. And the problem is that it is the mechanism of how our society is run. So the problem is the people that are in these positions to be making the decisions of how our society and our country and states and cities are run. They're just people. They're not special people. They're not superhuman people. They're just people. And are they the best people to be doing these jobs? I don't think so. But they should be, because this affects everybody. This affects everybody's lives. It affects our children's lives.
And their children's lives. So why can't we be living better than we are? There are better options.
More forward-thinking options out there. They're not unknown. They are known. most people would agree that things could be much, much better. And why not? Why couldn't they be? Most people were getting into a team sport mentality of arguing and fighting over who they think is better for all of these positions and who should be the ones to hold these positions of power. And everybody got so caught up with wanting the person that they support to win. And I just looked at all of it and I just thought, all these people suck. It doesn't matter which team you support, they all suck. Why are you so focused on trying to get your team to win? Because none of us are winning. Nobody's winning in the end. I started thinking about comparing government positions to other careers and industries. Now, when you look at something as simple as the obvious thing is professional sports, when you look at all the players that play in the NBA or the NFL or Major League Baseball, hockey, whatever, all those players are the best in the world at what they do. They made it through many, many years of competition and training and dedication to becoming the best. And the result is watching professional sports is exciting because you are seeing the best of the best. When you look at people that are computer programmers, engineers, people that are NASA engineers, people that build airplanes, people that build buildings, architects. The people that are the best in the world, that are at the top, are the best in the world because it's not a matter of opinion. It's quite objective of who is the best, who is good at this and who doesn't. If you are not a good architect, your building will collapse. If you don't know how to fly an airplane, if you're not a good pilot, you will crash the plane. It's pretty black and white. But when it comes to government and politics, you just got the people that showed up a lot of times. You got the people that are the people that decided they wanted to do it because most other people are not doing it. So what do you have? Do you really have the best of the best? Or do you have low-hanging fruit? At the local level, there's plenty of people that get elected simply because nobody else was running. One person tried for a position, so by default, they win. And then let's take it all the way to the top. The people that become the president or the governors or the senators, they are not the best humans. They're not the best people in the world at doing those jobs. They're just the people that got elected. Now, how many people in the world want to play in the NBA? How many people train hard and compete from the time they're kids to dream of one day being in the NBA. How many people actually make it? Only a few hundred. How many people in the highest levels of government worked hard their entire lives since they were kids, studied hard to be the best they could to have those jobs? Not many. The fact that you vote for a president and it comes down to two choices. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. That's a bullshit system. People are getting upset and pointing fingers at these candidates, but they need to be getting mad and upset and pointing fingers at the system of how all this bullshit works. But they're being distracted. They need to pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Because the Wizard of Oz is not real. But what do I know? I'm not doing this podcast in the way a lot of other people do podcasts. I'm not really trying to be opinionated so much and be a social commentator. I just try to share my perspective of how I see things, and it's not at all something that I think anybody else has to accept or believe in or agree with. It's just what's in my mind. Hence, talk like no one's listening, because this is not really meant for anyone else, even though other people listen to it. But I think it's important, at least for myself, this is therapeutic, to just have a moment to dive deep into my own mind and my own thoughts. I started thinking about people that are the superstars of the world. Athletes, musicians, actors, those type of people that are super famous, super successful, are known all over the world, that are seen as superheroes to a lot of people. Now, for a lot of people, they see these people, these types of people, as a separate group. The term celebrity, it's thought of as people being literally like a different class of human, when in fact there are no superhumans. We're all humans. We're all the same. But we're all capable of doing incredibly crazy shit if that is what our life energy is focused towards. And it's not easy. It's not easy. When you look at professional athletes and the things that they are able to do with their bodies, it comes at a price. They are able to do that, and they are talented and gifted, but most professional athletes are constantly injured. That's the toll it takes on the body to be able to perform at that level. It takes full-time dedication towards training the body and mind to compete like that. Same thing with musicians, high-level musicians, people that go on arena tours. around the world. Yes, they can get up there on the stage night after night and put on an amazing show for people, for crowds, but there's a cost to that too. The cost was many, many hours of training to get to that level, and still many more hours of training to maintain that level. And then even the fame has a cost. You get to that level of fame and you've given up your freedom on certain levels. Yes, you have the freedom that money and wealth can afford you, but you've also lost the freedom of being anonymous and being able to just walk down the street and be unbothered by people. And I've met these people, different types of people like this in my career, and I've spent time with them when they are away from the world and they're just being a human in their own life. And it's a very interesting paradox of just their lives, that they can be, I can know them on a personal level in their private life and then see what they are out in the world. And it's crazy to always to believe, to see that these two lives are the same person. But it's a great experience. It's been a great experience for me to be around people like that, to learn that they're only human, and whatever they can achieve and do, anybody can, if they choose to do what is required to achieve that. It's not impossible. It's just very difficult. Some people have a head start in life when it comes to that. Some people work really hard from the bottom and they achieve it. Everybody's different, but I think the important thing that this year, lessons of this year, is that you have to spend that time with yourself, to love yourself, to understand yourself, and think about what it is that you truly want in life, and figure out how you can achieve it. As impossible as it may seem, but it's all possible. And it's only up to you, because what this year has shown everybody, whether they see it or not, is that no one outside is looking out for you. No one else is going to make your life better for you. No one's coming to save you. Only you can save yourself. Even if you do have somebody that's looking out for you, that will help you, if you can go about your business as if it's just you and you only depend on you, then you won't be disappointed and you won't be dependent. Because once you're dependent on someone to help you, you've given up your freedom again. Because you have to wait on them. And there's no point in waiting unnecessarily. Being patient, yes, that's different, but if there's something you can do today to take a step forward towards the life that you want, there's no point in waiting. As small of a step as can be, it doesn't even matter. The smallest step. If you're consistently taking small steps towards the life that you want, well, eventually you get there, because that's all it is.
Climbing to the top of a mountain is just a series of steps. It doesn't happen in one gigantic jump. You just jump straight to the top. No, it happens one step at a time. And everybody's capable of taking one small step at a time. So just focus on one step at a time. Don't look at the whole mountain. Just look down at your feet and make sure they keep moving. And shut out the noise. I use social media just like everybody else, but over time, I've learned more and more that it's very important to be very disciplined in the way that you use it. It's very useful to, on the basic level of how it started and what it was good for, was to connect with friends and family and whatnot, and share moments of your life with other people. Sure, that's fine. It's also grown into a tool that can help you with your career path. It's a great tool for people that are entrepreneurs, that are independent. It's a way to promote yourself, to meet people. I've met lots of people that I've worked with and connected with through social media. It's a great resource in that. But it also can be very detrimental to your mental health if you do it in a very irresponsible way. It shouldn't just be a thing where you tune out and swipe, 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 tap, tap, tap. It's a lot of information. If you follow lots of different sources and you really get caught up and deep into it, it's a lot of information coming at you from lots of different places. And what has now been revealed as fact is the people creating social media companies and platforms, behind it, it's all an agenda to capture your attention as much as possible. All for money. Money that they're gonna make, not you. So if you're gonna use social media a lot, why not use it as a tool to make money for you instead of a tool that's only gonna make money for them? The more thoughts come into your head, the more ideas and content, the more you have to filter. You really have to filter, but that's a lot of work too. Trying to filter and look at every piece of information in your head that you've accumulated and to understand, is it really an idea or an opinion or a view that you genuinely have and share and see? Or is it just something you've as assimilated into you? It's very dangerous when everybody becomes mentally trapped into groups of thinking, pockets of thinking. More people need to be thinking for themselves. I mean, everybody needs to be thinking for themselves. They need to see the world with their own eyes and ears, with their own experience, and live based off of what they see themselves and experience themselves. Because that's all we really know. That's all we can really hold true, is the things we've actually been through and lived through. There are a lot of political movements going on and a lot of opinions on everything. It's just an ocean of opinions out there. But a lot of these opinions are only being formed based on information that's been shared on social media. Everybody has opinions on things that they themselves have never been through.
And I feel like those types of opinions are not valid when it comes to being broadcasted through social media. They're not helpful necessarily, especially when it comes to a social cause, social movement, something to do with injustices. For example, people that want to speak out and promote their opinions on what needs to be done
Are not helpful if they themselves are not directly experiencing those types of things, because what are they really speaking from? They just heard somebody else's story, read it, didn't live it, didn't even see
see it up close, just only read about it, and are forming very, very hard, concrete stances on what needs to be done. But I think everybody needs to be handling their own lives, because only they know what's really going on in their lives. And that's why I'm just sticking to my own life. I'm minding my own business. It's quite simple, and I enjoy it. Because honestly, it takes most of your time to really properly handle your own life. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. As crazy as everything's been, I've managed to make it through this year and have come out in a better place than how it started. I hope more people can say the same. But I think without more people taking up their own independence of their mind and bodies and spirits, souls, whatever, the world's in a really tough place. Without people understanding how they may be being manipulated by outside forces, it's a very dark path if that continues. The only path towards light and to a better world and society for everybody is if everybody can wake up and think with their own mind, see with their own eyes, and live for themselves. Truly. And it's not a selfish thing, I don't think. Well, maybe it is selfish, but it's not. There's a negative selfish and there's a positive selfishness. If everybody's truly just looking out for themselves, for their own well-being, and really putting in the time and effort and being responsible for themselves, you'll see everybody as a whole, the collective consciousness will start to improve. We'll start to move in this gigantic wave that will slowly start. It's just a giant wave of positivity that will take over the negativity eventually.
But it's a matter of momentum in one direction or the other. So I'm starting with me, and I hope you start with you.
And then I hope we end with us. Happy New Year, everyone.